What's up everybody? In today's video I'm going to be talking about the five different ways you can receive a nomination to the United States Air Force Academy. Let's get into it. So yeah, what's up everybody? I'm Jack. Welcome back to my channel. I talk about all things Air Force and Air Force Academy related. So, if you want to see these videos or you have a suggestion or want me to make a video on something, be sure to hit that subscribe button and leave me a comment down below saying what you want me to make, and I'll make it. Today I want to talk about the 5 different ways that you can receive a nomination in the Air Force Academy. And obviously, if you are applying, which is probably why you're watching this video, and you want to get to know a little bit about how it works, I'm going to be trying to explain it as best as I can. There are a few holes I'm probably going to leave because I can't exactly explain everything. It would go like hours and hours long because this is a very confusing process, but I'm going to try to simplify it and make it as easy for you to understand as you possibly can. So the first way is going to be through your senator. Now, this is one of the hardest ways that you can receive a nomination as opposed to some of the other ones we're going to talk about, but I'll basically lay out how mine went so you can kind of, get an idea of what you would be going through. Yes, it varies state by state, what have you, but I just want to talk about my experience so you can get a good idea of what you'd be, getting yourself into. So mine first was like an online application, and they just basically asked, are you in Civil Air Patrol? Are you in JROTC? Are you in, I think, Boy Scouts? Are you in these types of things? Asked you to put your grade point average, your SAT, ACT, just like your standardized testing scores, and asked you to do 3 different essays, like short response essays on questions they asked you. Once you got through that process, they then invited you to whatever kind of interview location is closest to where you were. Mine was a little bit of a hike away, but you're obviously not going to be like, oh, I'm not going to show up to my interview because I have to go down to Miami, which is 2 hours away from me. I'm not doing that. Like, no, you're not going to do that. So they basically send you to a place that you conduct your interview, and that's how that goes from there. So it's basically like 2 steps to get the nomination. You have the first like weed out kind of thing where they weed out like that person has a 1.9 GPA. So yeah, it basically works like a 2-stage process. Like they have one where like is like the initial weed out to like get rid of the kids that have a 1.9 GPA and nothing really going for them. So then there's a second thing where it's all about the interview, how you conduct yourself and stuff like that. I know it was really competitive in my state this past year. I think it was like around 450 people were selected, but then obviously only 5 get chosen, so it was really rough. So yeah, that's one of the ways, and let's just go on to the next way. So the next way, number 2, is going to be through your district, your congressman assigned to your district. So this is going to be a little bit easier, obviously, because now you're only competing with the people in your district instead of the entire state. So that's, good job. That's, that's a little better. Really relies on who is in your district and how competitive your district is, because there are some districts where barely anybody apply, or the people that apply are not good. And then there's areas like my district where there's so many people applying and they're all really competitive. That's basically the district process. Mine was actually weird, and I'll make a separate video on this. My district nomination required me to do a physical test, which they didn't really tell me about, so that was kind of whack. But yeah, that's how a normal person's district nomination is going to go. It's kind of like the same thing. You would fill out either paper and mail it in, or an electronic thing, just giving a little bit of information about yourself, your academic, athletic history, and then they'll send you a letter saying this is where you're going to be for your interview, and the rest of it just goes exactly like your senator one. The third way is through the vice president. Now, the vice president is a little weird because it's like this online application that they don't really ask a lot of you, as opposed to past years. This year it was just like a couple questions, life goals. Are you involved in this? Are you involved in that? And that is typically one that you want to do. And the reason being is because a lot of people kind of think like, oh, everyone's going to do that one because it's encompassing the entire nation. I'm not going to do it. And then everyone has that mentality, and then nobody does it. So obviously it's not a guaranteed thing that you're going to get it. It's still really competitive, but it doesn't hurt at all to fill out the vice presidential one. So that is another way that you can get the nomination towards going to the Air Force Academy. The one I don't want to talk about is the presidential one, just because myself, I don't know that much about it. It's kind of like something nobody really mentions, because from what I remember, it's like reserved for people whose like families went there, or who had members that like passed away while in service. There's like all these little things. It's not for like normal people, I guess is what you should call it. So that is one I'm not going to talk about, because I don't know if they still even do it. I couldn't find any information on that one, so I'm sorry if you were, you know, looking to find information on that. I just don't really know. The next one is going to be through AFROTC, which is a thing. So if you don't get into kind of like direct appointment straight from high school to the academy, and you know, you pursue AFROTC, you can still get into the academy regardless of if you do AFROTC or not. But let's say, you know, you don't get in, so you're like, okay, I'll just do AFROTC for the time being. You do that, you can actually apply to get a nomination through them to then attend a service academy, or in this case just USAFA. So that is another way. Again, haven't done it, I don't really know that much information on it, but if this is something that applies to you, I would definitely recommend going to the Service Academy forums and looking up this specific thing, because this is a way that you can get a nomination towards going to USAFA. So the last one I want to talk about is kind of the unspoken one, the one nobody talks about, and for good reason, and I'll probably make a separate video on this coming later, and that is the Superintendent Nomination. And ALOs and the people that help you along the process, the mentors, they don't even really talk about this, and they're told not to because of how rare it is, and not wanting kids to fall back on it as like a plan B, I guess you could say. So the Superintendent Nomination is the superintendent of the Air Force Academy actually has up to 50 slots that he can nominate people to go to the academy. So let's say your application's done, your medical status is either in, pending, you know, it's you're not gonna get disqualified at this point, and you just don't have a nomination. The superintendent's nomination is, he looks at those kids that don't have a nomination, that you know, fall between the cracks, slip between the cracks somewhere, that they didn't get a nomination for one reason or another, even though they are qualified, and he hands them the nomination, not literally, and they get in. But obviously the 50 is a very liberal amount. It's typically not 50, it's typically like 1 or 2, maybe even like, you know, up to 10. But the 50 is a very liberal amount. It's typically not 50 year to year. It's typically maybe like 5 to 10. It's not that many. Like I said, it's almost like, you know, the golden ticket from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. It's very, very selective. Like I said, it's just strictly for the people that, you know, he looks at their application, they're like, you know, why doesn't person XYZ have a nomination when they're triple qualified, you know, whatever. And that's the reason that that's given out. But like I said, a lot of people don't talk about it because it's such a rare occurrence that, you know, they don't want the prospective candidates to be like, oh, I just have that to fall back on. I don't have to go to any of the, you know, interviews or anything, because I'll just get that. Like, no, that's not what they want. So I hope this kind of helped you guys out as far as the description of the different ways you can get a nomination. As always, you can leave comments down below and I'll try my best to answer them and kind of clarify. I'll do in-depth videos of each type of nomination later, but I just kind of want to put this like compilation of all of them in one list out for you guys, just so you can kind of get an idea of, you know, what you'd be getting yourself into if you want to apply to the Air Force Academy. So yeah, I hope this video helped you out. Like I said, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, or video suggestions, leave them down in the comments below. As always, I'm Jack, and I'll see you next time.